Hello, everyone, and welcome to day one of Elevate Your Wellbeing, Contagious Care, how we can care for ourselves and our loved ones and the broader community through this COVID-19 season. It's sure a challenging one, and we want to be able to care contagiously. So how can we best manage ourselves and each other through this challenging time? I want to thank you first for all the people who have written down some of their feelings that they've been experiencing through the social distancing, because that's our topic for today, day one. And it's so lovely to be seeing your responses already coming through. Rachel and Nicole, hello. Just saying hi to you all. And Amanda and Melanie and Annabelle. Thank you, Belle. It's just lovely seeing you. First time for me to be doing something like this, but I just felt it was time for me to step up through this. It's quite an emotional response for me in having to go through a process of doing something, the process of not what is enjoyable for me, but to get to the end point in being able to share my knowledge and wisdom and expertise that I've just been privileged to learn over all these years of being a therapist for over 3 decades now. And I just feel, who am I to keep that in my head, particularly at a time when we all need it. And so I'm just wanting to share some times with you. I want you to feel like you're in my living room. I've converted my counselling room here into a live video room so that you can feel that you're with me through this time. So my sense of this is, whatever we do, we all want to be brave. We all want to be life-giving, whatever that means to each of us. And we all want to let our light shine upon others so that we can support and nourish them too through this season. So can I encourage you right now? Hi, Melanie and Carol, lovely to see you. Nicolene and Margaret, beautiful. And I may have missed some people here. It's just so lovely to see you. I don't know whether I'm supposed to wave at you like this. Yes, but I'll just save myself from doing that so there's not distractions. But what I want to do for you right now, those of you who are coming live, and those of you who see the replay, you don't have to meet here at 11 o'clock with your cup of coffee. You can see the replay at any time that suits you. But I've committed myself over the next 2 months to meet with you guys on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 11 a.m. And so my big promise to you is to provide a safe place for you to connect and to personally grow through this time, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically and relationally. There are so many areas of personal development that we can go through this time and maximize on this adversity in our world. To be a lighthouse to our loved ones, whether we're mums and dads at home, caring for children, and just the incredible differentness that all of a sudden that tsunami has brought in to your lives with homeschooling, when you've never had any teaching expertise before. Whether it's working from home, both working at home as partners and not even having the space to be able to do that constructively. Whatever it is you're going through, I imagine you, like me, want to be a lighthouse to others, your loved ones, and more globally. So how can we be mature through this event in history and to be in a space where we can actually go forward for a moment? I want you to imagine yourself in, let's say, 6 months' time, looking back on COVID-19 season. How do you want to have been through this season? How would you describe the way you want to be? So that's the task that I'm setting for you between now and Thursday, for you to actually imagine how you want to be in an emotional, mental, physical, relational, spiritual sense. But right now, I want you to think about what is the main emotion that you've been experiencing through social distancing. And I'd love it if you could put in your comments now, because that's really important for us to have a way of connecting, to be able to, for me to see your responses right now. So wave, like, love, just take a moment to put in the comment section in just one word, what's the major feeling you've been experiencing through social distancing? Because as I've listened to people through this time, it's been grief and loss, incredible sadness, as I hear friends talk to me about, missing out on seeing. Just last night, we spent time on the headland with a beautiful couple who have just missed out on being able to meet their grandchild. And they won't be able to see their grandchild for 3 weeks because of having to isolate themselves after returning from hospital. So there's all that incredible grandma, granddad love that's stored in their hearts that they can't express yet. So we just had a wonderful time taking a glass of wine and having our social distance of 2 meters apart, and being able to cheer them on in their grandparenting. And that was a beautiful occasion last night. But there's grief on many levels. And that was just an example of how we can transfer our grief into a time of celebration, even in these small doses of celebration through this experience. Now, with grief and loss, whether it's sadness, disappointment, feeling disconnected, I'm wanting to hear your words right now. Put them up in the comments section. Just one word. One person wrote that they were feeling very bored. Another person extremely isolated. Another one confused. That's what they wrote in the comments as we prepared for this first session. But the ones who just write one word, how you are feeling right now. Because you see, when we feel distressed, it can lead straight away to overwhelm if we don't do something to de-stress that distress. So if we go straight to overwhelm, we very quickly become dysfunctional then. We're the type of person that we don't like. We are a person that, we want to shove in the cupboard. And there's a lot of frustration that gets expressed then, and anger, if we're not identifying our emotions, those raw emotions first. We're going to look at that tomorrow, what's underneath our frustration and anger. But today, let's look at the feeling of being robbed if you haven't been able to have that, your child's wedding or your own wedding that you'd anticipated, or that one-time overseas holiday of your dreams. Or missing out. I heard of a child missing out on showing up as the primary school captain. He was so looking forward to that experience of actually being there physically with the school, and he can't. That was taken from him. Whether it's a loss of a job or loss of special occasions. The important tip here is to feel the emotion. Because some of us, and I know myself too, with my disappointments of things that have been experiences that have just been shoved in the garbage bin for the next 6 months. There's a disappointment in that. Keep on sending your feelings of how you are experiencing social distancing. I'm seeing some of your comments now, confused, hoping to, loneliness, disconnection. Melinda Macker, hi, my lovely daughter. Deepening of friendships over online. Carol, loneliness. Melanie, relaxed and grateful. Another one, feeling discouraged. Margaret, feeling thankful. Ruth feeling confused, hoping to still be able to meet your grandchild who is about to be born. So thank you for sharing your honesty here. Disconnection from Kristen. Thank you. It's great to see you, Kristen. And, it's just a sense of feeling robbed. Having someone rob us of all those experiences. When you can share that with at least one loved one, or a few if you can, it actually helps to dissipate that feeling so that then you can own it, you've identified it, you own it, and it enables you to move forward more quickly with it. It doesn't mean it's going to go away, but it just means it's going to be minimized. It's more at the hind brain rather than the forebrain. So often we are right now minimizing our feelings, and because we don't want to look self-focused when we know that there's so many other people dying with this disease, with this virus, I should say. And so we often we gauge our feelings of grief and disappointment against others. And that's a kind thing to do. But at the same time, we can rob ourselves from actually identifying those feelings and working through them ourselves. So don't ignore those feelings, don't minimize them, actually own them after you've identified them and say, yes, this is what I'm feeling. Be able to express it just in a simple way. I feel this when. And another tip, think of how you can celebrate that in a different way to what you had actually planned. And be creative as you can through this time. Because you see, through social distancing, there's a thing where, with physical touch and closeness, what we're all missing out on right now. If we're lucky to have partners, we still get that physical touch and closeness from them. And if you're living with your children at home. But for others, they might have no one. And it's really challenging through this time because we were born to have physical touch and closeness. It's one of the 5 languages of love. There's a book written by Gary Chapman, and I really encourage you to read that, called The 5 Languages of Love. And physical touch and closeness, it's an incredible way of expressing our love. I find when I go to exercise with a friend, when I meet them, I so want to just hug them. I just want to express my love to them in that way. And I've found I've had to do a little shimmy to get that energy of love and warmth out and hope that they receive that. Just finding a way where we can still bond with people and connect, even though we can't physically touch. As you see, studies were done, and many of you would know this, that studies were done decades and decades ago with little orphans, and they were in homes, and nobody touched them. The nurses, there was sadly no touch, and they died. That shows the reality of the difficulties we're under when we can't physically touch our loved ones. So finding ways, remember another tip, finding ways where you can connect, be creative, and to still express your love to your loved ones. So I'm seeing more comments here, which is just so lovely. Thank you very much. The lack of freedom, Rachel, yes. And, that sense of being free is so vital to us all. And it's so enriching in having that. So a tip there is, how can we be, and I know, Rachel, you're the most creative person I know, actually, so I know you would have lots of incredibly wonderful ways of being able to still be free. I remember I came to your home recently and got dressed up as in the most colourful outfit as possible. Like I went into my, dress up box, and yes, I've got one. just in case there's still dress-up parties, and just try to look as colourful as I could to celebrate something that you couldn't have, that was taken away from you. And so, sure, I looked an idiot to all your neighbours, but it was so much fun doing it. And so, be creative in your ways of still being able to connect. This social distancing thing is a challenge for us all. And let's try and rise to the challenge, and being able to care for yourself through this is a really important way of dealing with the isolation. Hi Sandra and hi Kathy, great to see you. And Kerry, we're just looking at the main emotion you experience through social distancing. So if you could just put it there in the comment bar, love to hear your primary feeling that you've been experiencing through the challenge of social distancing. So we are going to rise to the challenge. I know you're going to do that, and my promise to you is to help you, if I can be of any assistance, to support and encourage you with the knowledge and expertise and, dare I say, wisdom. Don't know whether my kids would say that, but yeah, just putting it out there, the things that I've learned through my 60 years of experience, to just be able to support and give tips on how to deal with some of these experiences we're going through this particular season. So the topics you've all got there on the page, on the group. Feel free to invite your friends to this. And I'll tell you why. When we share the journey with somebody else, particularly someone else we know, that we can learn together and bounce off each other with our ideas and our goals for the future. We're going to be setting goals through this. So it's really important that you can share that and bounce with each other, because when you talk about a goal that you want to achieve, do you know what happens? You automatically set yourself in a closer position to be able to achieve it, because you actually hear your voice when you've expressed it to your friend. And so by inviting a friend to these special sessions on elevating your well-being, you are contagiously caring for your friend by offering that avenue of support, and you're also having that gift of being able to bounce off with each other and connect also. And on top of that, another good reason to invite a friend is because you can, as well as discussing it together, you can actually develop some accountability. You can say, hey, how are you going? Oh, I really wanted to do that exercise that Heather suggested, but I didn't get there. You've got that accountability, and that's an incredibly powerful strategy to help the learning curve in any form of learning. So I said that this would just be 10 minutes, and I can't believe it. I've gone over. So I'm going to thank you, Kathy. The loss of nonverbal communication, holding your new nephew. Oh my goodness, Sandra. Yes, I know. You shared that with me yesterday. So hard. Patting animals or other creative ways of physical touch. Melinda, thank you. She's my daughter. Hasn't she got good ones? Soft materials are helpful if people can't find that physical touch in humans right now. Thank you so much. I just love your responses here. So keep putting them in. And when you go on to replay, keep putting your responses in here too. And I'll watch them all, and because I want to be connected with you through this. So just as we finish today's session, I want to encourage you. You know how in a plane we're told to put on the oxygen mask before we put it on our children or anybody else? I want you to put your self-care mask on first, to be able to then enable you to care for your kids. So have self-care and self-compassion, because our mental health concerns are incredibly important through this time. If we've been suffering anxiety or depression already, it's only going to be exacerbated, heightened through this time. And that's crazy. It's really challenging if you're feeling depression or low already. How much more difficult is that going to be when you're isolating? So I just encourage you to not withdraw from these times, but to actually try again and be creative to connect, whether it's on Zooming or whatever way you can, within safety measures, to be able to connect with the people that you really do love. So let's rise to the challenge. I am going to finish today. We are this Thursday at 11 o'clock, we're going to be looking at all the things of what's underneath our frustration and anger, and how to eliminate that frustration and anger to be able to be constructive in the way we manage this. So until then, I'm going to give you a quote from Adele Bashir, and she says, "Even the most challenging times cannot steal our hopes and dreams. It cannot rob us of our faith or take away our capacity for love. We alone own the inner strength to rise in this moment." So let's rise to the challenge, friends. And until I see you on Thursday, whatever you do, be brave, be life-giving, and let your light shine.